Hey everybody, welcome to week 4. Hope you all are doing good. But to start off the topic of Psalm 139 in its context, as you'll likely already know, it reads, "Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion against you?" Now, if you could only have knowledge of an isolated context of this verse within the Bible, it could lead to an awfully disastrous misinterpretation of the Bible's words that would lead to a nasty feeling in yourself. You would likely misinterpret Psalm 139:21 as it were a harsh and judgmental verse and gives off a feeling of intense hatred to people just because they don't follow God, which is absolutely not the sense you would want to feel while reading the Bible. This could lead to confusion about the morals within the Bible, in particular the specific verse. It could lead the reader that is trying to endorse violence with those not following the Lord, which again could be very troubling and aggressive to the reader without knowing all the context. Now, with the larger overall context of the verse, Psalm 139:21 completely transforms into something new and much, much less hostile. It turns into understanding that the psalmist was intimate with God and had a deep longing for the righteousness in the world he believed in. He wanted so desperately to know, understand, and align with God's great plan, so much so it comes off as spite and hatred. He writes so that he understands God's will, and basically pleads for his guidance from those that oppose God's way. In the larger context, his seeming hatred is rooted in his commitment to God and his desire to commit to the justice of God. The hate symbolizes his deep disapproval against those that wish to go against God's morals and plans. It's not exactly directed towards specific people or individuals, just those in general that wish to rebel against God. The psalmist is asking for God's advice on the matter because he knows that God is just and has the idea of ultimate justice, and that he is not the one to make that ultimate decision. The psalmist does not exactly have a deep hatred of those who do not follow on God's path, but just a very deep loyalty to God, his words, and his justice. He is strongly against the idea of rebelling against God, and that comes off as the passage itself. The passage comes off as very strong, and it is, but not because of the hatred, but from the deep loyalty and admiration of God and the ultimate judge of the people, and he believes in how God tells him to feel about those who walk away from the path of God. So, to summarize basically everything I just said in a little simpler terms, the isolated verse could be very easily misunderstood as a verse of hatred and a harsh call to action against those who turn their back on God. But as you look at it through a deeper meaning and context within the verses, you get a story of someone extremely loyal and devoted to God, waiting and wishing to hear his judgment of good and evil. He believes God to be the ultimate judge and understands his presence in his life. Thank you very much for listening, and hope you all have a good day.